Hello, my friends. I want to introduce a new series I'm starting about ecology and our relationship with it. Today's feature is a story about a cow named Martha. Um, and she was once a human being, got tired of it because of all the complex relationships humans have with the world. And so she decided to be reincarnated from human form to a cow called Martha the cow. I'm going to let my friends David and Angela review it for a while and then open up the discussion, hopefully with your support and comments at the end of it. Let's begin.
Welcome back, deep divers. Ready for something a little different today?
Always up for a challenge. What you got for us?
Well, we're diving into this piece called Martha the Cow.
Okay, sounds farm fresh. I like it. What's the angle?
The twist is Martha's our narrator.
Oh.
And she claims to be a reincarnated human.
Oh, hold the phone. A talking cow who used to be a person. Now that's a story I gotta hear.
Right. It throws a whole new spin on things. Yeah. So is this fiction, allegory, some deep philosophical thing? Let's find out.
I'm all ears. Literally.
All right, so Martha starts by describing her cow life. She's born on this small farm in Ontario, Canada. Big emphasis on her bond with her mom. Classic mama's girl, even as a calf.
Makes sense. We often forget cows are social creatures, just like us, capable of those deep, emotional connections.
Exactly. But as Martha points out, most dairy cows, they don't exactly get the luxury of those bonds for long. Factory farm conditions, all that.
Yeah, that's the harsh reality. It makes her situation even more, unique.
Speaking of unique, Martha actually gets saved from that fate. Jeanette, the farmer's daughter, she absolutely adores Martha, becomes her protector, makes sure she doesn't get sent off, prematurely.
So, idyllic start to life, all things considered. But then things take a turn for the philosophical, I guess.
Oh yeah, Martha starts reflecting on her past life as a human. And let's just say it's not all sunshine and rainbows.
Not exactly filled with fond memories, huh?
More like she's relieved to be a cow now. She talks about dealing with insurance companies, never-ending bills, even the ice-capades, of all things.
The ice-capades. That's specific. What'd she have against those?
Who knows? But it's like all those mundane, everyday human things, they were almost like a prison to her. Now she's moving on to bigger, better things.
Okay, I gotta admit, I get that feeling sometimes. You ever get bogged down by those routines, like you're just going through the motions?
All the time. It's like, where's the excitement, the purpose, the cowness, maybe?
Maybe that's the point. Martha's story highlights that feeling of being stuck in systems, not of our making.
And from there, things get even deeper. We're talking life, death, the whole existential shebang. But with a bovine twist, of course.
Now that's where it gets really interesting. What's her take? I mean, does she buy into all the human stuff about afterlife, legacy, all that?
You'd think, coming from a human, right? But she seems totally at peace with it all. Even jokes about her eventual fate. Meat and leather, the whole 9 yards.
No fear of the butcher, huh? Wow, that's really something.
It's almost like she's saying, look, I lived a whole human life, now I'm a cow, and when it's over, it's over. Simple as that. Does that, resonate with you at all?
It definitely makes you think. Maybe we humans overcomplicate death. She embraces the natural cycle, the simplicity of it, like circle of life, Simba, the whole deal.
Exactly. And it goes even further. She's pretty matter of fact about existence in general. No higher power, no afterlife, just, peaking.
Yeah.
Almost like a cow version of atheism? Now that's a phrase I never thought I'd say. Cow atheism. Gotta love it. But it does make you wonder, right? Is contentment found in that simplicity rather than striving for something more?
Great question. And it makes me think of another thing Martha brings up. She observes this human need to leave a mark on the world, find meaning, be heroes.
Right, all that striving, achieving, proving ourselves.
Exactly. But Martha, she's like, hold your horses, humans. You're ultimately just specks of dust like the rest of us.
Oh, she went there. That's a pretty deep thought for a cow.
And she even throws in a Shakespeare quote for good measure, that famous line from Hamlet about humans being the paragon of animals, but also just quintessence of dust.
Wow, she did her homework.
Yeah, that last reference to Macbeth as he searches his soul for some meaning because of his unbridled ambition to become the king. how does that relate to being a cow or being a human for that matter? Well, the question becomes, is life worth living as a cow or as a human? And what joys and pleasures can we derive from it, despite the hardships and complications and hurdles we have to leap over? Moving on.
It's a powerful point, though. Like, yeah, we have potential, but we're also just temporary.
Oh, yeah.
Humbling, isn't it? Especially coming from, a cow.
Absolutely. Makes you reconsider your place in the grand scheme of things. And speaking of place, Martha actually connects this to her own experience with mad cow disease. Points out that even in her simple cow life, she's touched by those negative consequences of, well, human actions.
Right, the ripple effect. Our impact goes way beyond ourselves, affecting other creatures, the environment.
Exactly. Makes you think about how we view and treat animals in general.
And how those views differ across cultures, which Martha also brings up.
Oh, yeah. She mentions how in some places, cows are sacred, symbols of life, while in others,
They're just, resources. Food, leather, all that.
makes you wonder, how much do our own backgrounds shape those views? What values and beliefs inform how we interact with the natural world?
It's a deep question. And Martha, even as a cow, seems to have a pretty good grasp of those complexities.
She does. And towards the end, she sums it all up in one powerful statement. Cows are good people. What do you make of that?
Is she saying cows are inherently good? Or is it more about us, being too quick to label something as other and missing their inherent goodness?
That's a brilliant observation. I think there are multiple layers there. On one hand, it could be a simple statement of her experience, like the cows she knows are kind, gentle, but on a deeper level.
It's like a call to recognize the value of all life, regardless of species. To break down those barriers between us and them.
Exactly. We all have something to offer, something to contribute. Maybe we just need to open ourselves up to seeing it.
I love that. It's amazing how much wisdom you can get from unexpected sources.
It is, isn't it?
So there we have it. Martha's story from barnyard to, barnyard philosophy. It's been quite a journey. From those everyday cow antics to reflections on life, death, and everything in between.
And all from a cow's perspective. Who would have thought? It just goes to show you never know where you'll find insight. Sometimes the most profound lessons come from the simplest of creatures.
Makes you wonder if we dismiss those different perspectives too quickly. Maybe there's a whole lot of wisdom out there just waiting to be heard. If only we'd listen.
What's so fascinating here is how Martha's story, even with that fantastical premise, brings us back to a very human truth. The need for connection, for understanding, for recognizing that shared spark of life in all beings.
It's like she's holding up a mirror, making us question our assumptions about intelligence, consciousness, even the meaning of life itself.
And that's the power of a good story, right? It challenges us to think differently, see the world from a new angle.
And
of course, I encourage you to suspend your disbelief of a human becoming a cow. But in some religions, in terms of reincarnation, they do think that you come back in another form based on the life you've lived previously. So let's not rule out any theory about the afterlife, reincarnation, and so on. Even though you may have different belief systems, or being an atheist or an agnostic or any mainstream religion, it doesn't matter. Moving on.
speaking of different angles, this whole deep dive's got me thinking. Martha, she chose to be a cow. At least that's her story. But if W.E. had the choice, what would we choose to be reincarnated as? And more importantly, why?
Ooh, that's a great question to ponder. It gets to the core of our values, priorities, what we truly find meaningful in this life.
So deep divers, we want to hear from you.
Right.
What creature speaks to your soul? What form would you choose to experience the world in, given the chance?
Let us know. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and remember, wisdom can be found in the most unexpected places.
And
I just wanted to footnote something here that I experienced while on a trip to Cuba. I was sitting on a patio drinking a mojito, and next to me was a cat in a chair with its paw covering its eyes as if he didn't want to be disturbed by anything. And a gentleman came by to talk to me, I think a French Canadian, and he came over and whispered to me that he hoped to be a cat in the next life. So there you go. His choice was definitely to be a cat, probably because cats in general seem to have a good life because of their cleanliness, their self-maintenance, their freedom, and of course their leisure, which they enjoy tremendously, as my cat Mochi does indeed. Moving on, let's wrap it up with the epilogue to the story.
Maybe, just maybe, it's moving among us right now. It makes you think, right? Maybe less baggage, more bovine bliss.
Maybe. And you know, it ties into something else Martha talks about. It's not just about her own experiences. She also makes these really sharp observations about us, about humans, like our drive to be heroes.
Oh, yeah, she totally picks up on that.
Yeah.
Even from her, well, cow perspective.
It's like she sees right through us. We're always striving, trying to find validation, meaning
Living vicariously through others, athletes, celebrities, whoever seems to embody that image of success.
Exactly. And then Martha throws in this Shakespeare quote, which I gotta say, I was not expecting.
Right. Definitely not on my cow-themed bingo card.
But it's so fitting, though. She brings up that line from Hamlet about humans being the paragon of animals.
But also quintessence of dust. It's like, whoa.
Right. She's basically saying, you humans, you've got potential. You're capable of amazing things.
But you're also just, well, dust. Destined to return to the earth.
It's a pretty humbling thought, isn't it? Especially coming from a cow.
Totally. And speaking of humbling, Martha even connects this to mad cow disease.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
She points out that even in her simple cow existence, she's still touched by those negative consequences of human actions.
It's a powerful point. Reminds us that our impact goes way beyond ourselves, affects other creatures, the environment.
It's that ripple effect. Even small actions, they can have huge consequences.
Absolutely. And it makes you think about, well, how we view animals in general.
How we treat them.
Exactly. And that leads us to another interesting observation Martha makes about how cows are seen differently across cultures.
Right. She talks about how in some cultures, cows are sacred. They represent life itself. But in others,
they're seen as, well, resources for human use.
Which raises a really important question. How much do our own backgrounds, our beliefs, shape our views on animals?
What values inform those interactions with the natural world? It's something to really think about.
It is. And it's fascinating how Martha, even as a cow, seems to grasp those complexities.
She really does. And, you know, toward the end of her story, she makes this incredibly powerful statement. She says, cows are good people.
It's such an interesting way to put it. What do you think she means by that? Is she saying cows are inherently good?
Or is it more about us? Are we too quick to label something as other that we miss their inherent goodness?
Ooh, that's a good point.
That's
Could be both, right?
Definitely. On one hand, it could be her simple experience. Like the cows she knows are kind, gentle.
But on a deeper level, I think it's a call to action.
Yes.
To recognize the value of all life, regardless of species.
To break down those barriers we create between us and them.
I love that. We all have something to offer. Maybe we just need to open ourselves up to seeing it.
Exactly. And that open-mindedness, that's what Martha encourages throughout her whole story.
It's amazing, isn't it? How much wisdom you can find in the most unexpected places. Makes you wonder, right? Like, are we missing out on all sorts of wisdom just because it's coming from a cow?
It really does. And you know, it's funny because even with this whole reincarnation thing, this fantastical premise, Martha's story ultimately brings us back to something very human.
Oh, absolutely. It's about connection, understanding, recognizing that spark of life, no matter what form it takes.
We forget that sometimes, I think. Get so caught up in our own world, our own species.
Like she's holding up this mirror, making us question all those assumptions we have about intelligence, consciousness, even the meaning of life.
And that's the power of stories, right? They challenge us, make us think differently, see the world from a whole new perspective.
Speaking of different perspectives, this whole deep dive has got me pondering something. So, Martha, she chose to be a cow, at least according to her. But what if W.E. had the choice?
Okay, I like where you're going with this.
If we could be reincarnated, what would we choose and why? What would it say about us?
That's a fantastic question. Gets to the heart of what we value, what we find meaningful.
So, deep divers, we're throwing this one out to you. What creature speaks to your soul? What form would you choose to experience the world in? Let us know.
Yeah, we want to hear your thoughts. And until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning. Remember, wisdom can be found in the most unexpected places.
And hey, maybe it's moving right alongside us. You never know.
Well, on that note, my personal choice would be to stay here as a human for as long as I can. Most of my writing could be found on Patreon, but I do intend to publish these stories and more on an ebook platform or paperback, whether on Amazon or some other private platform. So let's keep in mind an open mind with respect to our relationship with nature, and of course the unfolding ecological crisis at hand on many levels. Let's take care of each other, and I hope to see you soon. Bye for now.